What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Memory Lane Unscripted. Part interview series, part nostalgic video game talk. I am your host, Nick Blaine. Joining me this week, in a Zoom call, nonetheless, is one Joe Medforth. How are you, Joe?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm well. How about you, man?
Pretty good. You know, it's a little bit hot. I'm not enjoying it over in the US of A, you know?
No, dude, yeah, air conditioning isn't a thing in the UK like most places. This may be a
What?
shock to a lot of people.
Whoa!
But yeah, in England, it's bad. Like most houses do not have it built in, unless they're really modern, and a lot of buildings, like even modern places, it's not a guarantee because of course it doesn't usually get that hot over here. But
That's
now
fair.
global warming, so.
Yeah. You know. Yeah, I don't know. I've always lived in like attic-y areas. So, and I've never, like, none of them have ever had decent air conditioning. Like my parents' house, I lived in the attic, and it was just like, oh, you just have to live with the hot and the cold. I'm like, okay, I guess this is just,
Fire rises.
right. And especially because my parents had a wood stove below, so it just like during the winters it was still hot. It was stupid. I hate
too much.
So much nosebleeds. Anyways, if you didn't know, Memory Lane Unscripted is posts every Sunday on youtube.com/ShockandMcPain and podcast services such as Google Play and only Google Play. But it posts the last Sunday of every month. And today, Joe Medforth talking about himself.
Yeah,
Joe,
I mean, that's my favorite topic, to be honest.
Yes.
My name is Joe Medforth, JoeMedforth. I'm at Joe Medforth on most platforms, except on this little crazy little thing called Twitch, where I just started streaming a few weeks ago, where it's twitch.tv/JMedforth, because some ghost has taken my name on there and I can't get it back because Twitch doesn't let you. But yeah, no. Go follow me, as well as follow good old Nick here, Shotgun McPain, on Twitch and everywhere else. And
his streams, yeah. I'm so waiting for you to finish Deadly Premonition. It's such a terrible game, but it's so good at the same time.
and also I feel it ties in a little bit to it certainly was influenced by the game I'll talk about today.
The topic today. I like it. Is there anything else that you'd like to, why'd you get started in gaming, I guess, is what I'm gonna ask.
Oh, well, I think my stories are similar to a lot of people. Like, I've loved games ever since I was able to play games. I got a yellow Game Boy Pocket when I was a small little one for Christmas with Super Mario Land, and I've been a Nintendo fan ever since. It's right, yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah, shout out,
repping the brothers there. And yeah, it's I've stuck with Nintendo through and through. I'm like, I love everything else as well. Halo, like, God of War. I've never had anything but Nintendo systems, and I still to this day don't have a PS4 or an Xbox One. So don't slay me in the comments too much for being a fanboy.
So have you ever had any sort of, like, have you had a PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, Xbox?
Yeah, I have. Okay. I have a PS3 right now. It's a glorified Blu-ray player that gets dusted off every so often. But I've played through the likes of Uncharted, and a handful of other games. And I used to also do some PC gaming back when I had a PC before I became a dirty Mac user. For
it's biting you in the ass now.
100%. No, yeah. But yeah, so whether it's like Crisis, Counter-Strike Source, the Orange Box, like, it's, my tastes are all over the place. And I just love everything about gaming, and it's still one of the things that brings me the most joy in the world, really. So.
Well, and that's like so many of us, it resonates so highly because of things like it's funny pointing out your shirt, because it's just like you with Nintendo and like me with Kingdom Hearts. Like the fact that this is basically almost 20 years later, I'm still so invested in this franchise. I think the franchises themselves really dictate a lot of it, but also the growingness of the brand, the popularity. of it
Yeah,
all.
and it's great now that we live in a world where it's not something you have to feel ashamed of.
Right.
You can say that I'm a gamer. You can be proud, and there's so many people to rally around you and support you in that. And really, also to share in the collective fandoms with,
Mm-hmm. Sorry, chewing some ice.
Nah, dude, it's good. It's hot. Deal with it.
What was I gonna say? I was going somewhere. I was going
That's fine.
somewhere.
Don't worry about it, bro. Should we jump right into it?
I think you know what? Let's make like Philly D and let's jump right into it.
Yeah. So
What's the game that you go back to and you're just like, I cannot stop thinking about this game even years later. Like,
um one of those games, because there's many, but I think the most consistent game I go back to is it has to be Resident Evil 4. It started out on the GameCube,
oh
you know.
yo, you brought a
Exactly.
prop. I like it.
Exactly. I brought multiple props. We've still got both discs, instruction manual. This is my original copy. Yes, kids, they put it on two
Two
tiny
discs.
discs because there was too much awesome in the game to fit in anywhere else. And for any US viewers, you're like, I don't recognize this. Yes, this is the awesome PAL cover. You guys
The
got fucking shafted on that.
yeah we did. Holy shit,
uh,
yeah we did.
um, and then it weirdly enough, I didn't have any other platforms to get it on, but then of course it was re-released on Switch last year, so I ended up, of course, being a sucker, and I
Nice.
did get it on sale, but I did then get it on Switch and played through it again after multiple GameCube playthroughs. And then I was in a secondhand, like, video game exchange store. They have a chain of them over here called CEX, and this was in Manchester. And I wasn't going to buy anything. Me and my mate were just walking around the mall, just looking at stuff. And of course, I happened to see Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition, which people
Dude,
highly rate with the motion controls as one of the best versions of the game. And again, look at that cover. Like, it's just so fucking cool.
you're
Like,
like me with Skyrim. Like
yeah,
it's just
exactly.
like I need to have this and
I
everything.
need I need all of this, and they're
Dude,
just
that
it's
fucking
fucking.
Wii cover though.
Oh yeah, and also
Oh,
also they even extends to the disc. Like, it's
yo,
so
we did
fucking
get shafted. Holy, this is new information to me.
there you go, there you go. But yeah, I bought 3 copies of this game. Okay, to be fair, one secondhand, one around release time.
Fair enough though.
And I've already started replaying through it on Wii. Been a bit distracted by the streaming, but um, it's it is endlessly replayable, and I think I'm pretty good at going back to things, whether it be film, TV, music, movies, games as well, and acknowledging like, oh, this hasn't aged so well.
Hmm.
This is nostalgia talking. This is something where other people wouldn't be able to get into it. But I think that the design of Resident Evil was so well thought out, considering the limitations of both the hardware and the controls and everything, and where third person action adventure survival horror gaming was at the time. And it it still leaps out and screams like, this is one of the best narrative action experiences, roller coaster rides of a like cinematic game you're ever going to experience. That's why I can't help but come back to it.
Now back to the props thing. Have you ever considered buying the chainsaw controller, the infamous
Dude,
chainsaw
dude, dude,
controller?
dude, 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 you we didn't even discuss this before the podcast, by the way.
Yeah,
I mentioned there may be some props, but
yeah.
also let me see if I can do this, because
Oh
of course,
no.
for those, oh, host disabled attendee screen sharing. All right, well, we didn't get
Here.
that far. I should get them to do it.
Yeah.
If you can enable it, then
Yep.
I have pictures of it ready to go.
Oh, dude. So you've
All right.
had it then.
I haven't had it. I wish.
Oh.
I want it so bad. So, Newbie, a third-party manufacturer, made the guy who you can
Thank you.
see in both of these box arts, the chainsaw Ganado dude is one
Hmm.
of the. Oh yeah, there's a better picture of him even on the back of that one there, kind of. He's the most iconic Resident Evil 4 antagonist. You encounter him in the first major area of the game, the village that you go into, and it is absolutely it's just it's crazy, because you're like you don't know what's happening. You're just getting to grips with everything, and you end up meeting this guy, usually getting killed by him. He just decapitates you with a chainsaw. He's basically, you know, oh gosh,
Bagman.
what can't I remember his name? Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Leatherface.
whatever his name is. So yeah. Oh, apparently I have to open system preferences. Do I even share a screen? Useless. There we go.
Weird.
Okay.
I
So,
made. I just went forward and made you the host. So see.
oh well, do. There's a whole fashion of it's not going to work out, but
Right.
you can put
Anyways.
it in post.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
pictures of this controller everywhere, and it looks awful to use, but it's so iconic that they decided to take this weapon that you never get to wield in the game, but haunts you multiple times. Two women with bandages all over their faces, twins of insanity, come at you at another part in the game with it, and you just the moment you hear the sound of the chainsaw revving up in the background, you know that shit's about to go down, and either you're ready for it or you're low on health and you've not got quite enough ammo to face the encounter, and you're gonna have to figure out a way through it. And it's just it's just genius. I think that they were able to create such a unique balance between um, entertainment, fear, excitement, and tension throughout the game, because the game is funny as well. Like the game scared me when I was younger, and there's still moments and other sounds like the regenerator enemies that
Of
you encounter
course.
later on in the game. They have this like
I remember lunch table talk of that. Like it's like, have you guys got the regenerators yet? And I'm like, no. Like, what are those? And like, I vividly remember one of my friends describing it to me and just visualizing it. And I thought, honestly, I think the visual in my brain is a whole lot scarier than what it actually turned out to be. But still, like, I think about that to this day, where it's just like, fuck, man, you know?
yeah, it goes up there with kind of, especially for anyone who has played through the game on any of the platforms it's been released on. Maybe not the Zebo or the mobile version, but who knows?
Yeah, I remember. I remember
But
playing the mobile version. Oh man,
oh
that was
shit.
such trash. It was oh man, and then there was oh shit. I This shows you how big of a Resident Evil fan I am. I played if you remember the CG movies that were coming out, like
Mhm,
Degeneration, and around the same time as the actual movies, the live action movies,
mhm.
there was a Degeneration uh mobile game that played pseudo Resident Evil 4-esque, and it
Mhm.
was not good. Those controls were not refined in any sort of way. Go figure.
Well, that's the thing, is that people, I think, go back to Resident Evil 4 now if they haven't played it, or even if they have, and there's talk of how it doesn't hold up because of the controls, because it has a version of that Resident Evil clunkiness that is so sort of tied to the franchise and its earlier
I would
entries.
say
But
that's really funny because like the tank controls, it was such a step from Resident Evil 3 and Code Veronica to 4, because you for the first time you're over the shoulder, third person, you're actually can feel like you're controlling someone. I think the bit when the conversation comes up with Resident Evil 4, I think it's a lot of you can't walk and shoot. The things that the later games added, like the Resident Evil 2 remake, and all that Resident Evil 6,
yeah, no, no, yeah, and yeah, we
yeah.
don't necessarily get at those, but it's people forget that the game is designed around those limitations.
Hmm.
The, there is tension because you cannot run and shoot at the same time. Being able to run and gun at the same time would put you at a much higher advantage if nothing else in the game changed. And if they ever remake the game, which there's talk of, and it's likely to happen, they may well. I trust Capcom based on what they've done with the recent remakes to redesign it if they're going to do that. And I almost hope they do, because I don't think trying to make lightning strike twice in that same way and keeping those older sort of limitations is going to work for them. So it's it's just really a testament, though, to the fact that I have that, especially. So there's, moments of playing it when I was younger, which kind of blend into one of like my fear, like playing it on like an old, CRT TV on the GameCube. Um, but there's also the fact that like just last year, I was playing through it, and I was home alone, and we had a power cut that went on for like, I want to say, at least like 45 minutes to an hour. But what I did was I lit some candles, and I had the Switch set up in tabletop mode. I was sitting on my couch, and there's like an image, I'll send you it, like an image I put on Facebook or whatever, of me playing this game, and just like the Switch is the greatest console ever, and I'm playing the greatest game ever, and this
Yeah.
is such the mood for it. Just sitting there in the darkness with my wireless GameCube
Hell
controller, just
yeah.
like going straight up into it. Like, it's
And there's nothing
and
there's something like turning off the lights and playing a Resident Evil. You know,
oh,
like really slowly getting into the mood. Like you said, the mood, the atmosphere of it all. You know, that's the thing that these games do so well is set you in the time and place, set you in the universe. And I think that it breeds such great horror because of such things. And then of course with the later entries like 5 and 6, you got, less of that, but then they brought it back with 7 again. I
yeah, they brought it back with 7, and definitely seemingly with RE2 and
and the
3 remake
remakes.
as well. And I think that they're also Resident Evil 4 was such a fantastic marriage of the kind of the cheesy stuff that you made fun of the older games for. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Yeah.
But because Leon Kennedy, the lead, is the quintessential doesn't give a fuck action hero. He's on a mission to rescue the president's daughter, and she's annoying, but also you're like, oh, we still have to protect her, like a little sister kind of thing. And then there's just incredible other like various villains that and other characters that raise their heads, like Ramon Salazar, like this Napoleon dressed child in purple garb, and Chief by Torres Mendez and Lord Sadler, and of course, maybe one of the greatest in-game characters who has a function in the game but is also a personality in his own right, Resident Evil 4's Merchant. You can't
Oh
remember and
yeah.
think about that
What are
game
you
without
buying? I
it's
that's another
amazing.
one where I remember just like walking around with my friends and like go up to the lunch line and be like, "What are you buying?" Like, "Are you getting pizza?"
I'll buy it at a high price.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you, stranger. Like I remember saying that shit so much.
Yeah,
Be
and
like,
also
"Here's
like,
here's some candy." Thank you.
and there is a classic Mega 64 sketch
Yeah.
of him dressed up as that guy, like creeping people out at some stores or whatever.
So
Like,
good.
it's yeah, it was like you had before memes were even really a thing. Like and it still has to this day. The reason why I think it's indelible as so many people's favorite Resident Evil game in the series is those memories and moments that you just you can't help but remember. As you say, it has that element of the horror as well, and the tension of being chased down by these hordes of infected humans who aren't quite zombies, and they move differently to the and act differently to the way any other enemies did in Resident Evil games before it. You had the echoes of some of those, sort of like the lickers and the dogs, of course, but they would you would blow the head off, and then it would mutate into something even more grotesque that
Right.
you kind of were. And I think also, even though they, again, this is maybe an element that hasn't aged as well, and people sort of have this as, and I would say one of the things that I think the game falls down a little bit, the quick time events during the cutscenes, it really was one of the first instances of that, and it did help you become more immersed in a cinematic moment in the game at the time. They're a bit frustrating now because sometimes the
There's
prompts
they're
they
just
become too bit too quick
used
fast.
to simulate the
Hmm.
the action of playing. I
Yeah.
think there is some of the, but I think like you're right. The way it was put together in Resident Evil 4 bred such a tension, a want to be able, like, you're still controlling him in this cutscene. You're still available, as Leon. I
Yeah,
think that the QuickTime events really help that out.
where in a Hideo Kojima game, you're like, okay, we're in this cutscene for 5 minutes minimum,
Right.
going on 15. You had to keep on your toes in Resident Evil because the fight between Leon and Krauser, eventually, they're just like, trash talking each other, and there's knives being like wielded. And then all of a sudden, you need to be ready for the fact that you're going to be dodging and moving and trying to cut him as much as he's trying to cut you. And it really kind of,
Well,
it
it's like
elevated moments like that.
the opening hour where you're running after, like, past the boulder. Like, you're
Mm.
trying to outrun the boulder. It's the moments like that I mean, I think also bred a bit more of the actiony side of things that were later to come. But you didn't, like, when you're really doing base Resident Evil 4, you don't have those. You just have those slow, tense moments where, of course, all the enemies are the Las Plagas. Am I?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Las
Okay.
Plagas. Yeah.
I was like, I know it. I'm just blanking right now. But yeah, whether the Las Plagas are just coming after you,
Mhm.
that's a bit of the slower tension, and then they ramp things up with things like those QuickTime events, like the rock falling after you,
Mm.
the of course the fish in the giant fish monster in the lake. Like, I
Yeah,
think things like that stick in your mind.
it helped bring variety to those kind of boss battles. And there's so many different settings in the game, and you become so involved, and everything ends up unfolding, and the world is so much bigger than you realize, even though it is a more traditionally, like, linear experience overall.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing, like, that really, over the years, I think they took the best elements, like, and that's why I think that with this new remake, while I struggle to want it, because like you said, Resident Evil 4 is such a perfect game. I struggle with wanting to remake it because you're touching something that is so beloved, and anytime that happens, you're not necessarily going to get the same thing. And I think that they nailed it with Resident Evil 2, but I think Resident Evil 3 was a little bit on the downtrodden. I don't think it was bad. I really loved Resident Evil 3 remake, but I just didn't think it hit those high highs. And I think if we're just going back down the road of remaking these games, especially the ones that are super beloved, I mean, Resident Evil 2 was up there, but I think that there's a little bit of an apprehension I have with Resident Evil 4 remake. And I was just gonna ask, what if is there any apprehension that you see?
I think that, as we touched on a little bit earlier, I can see it going one of two ways. I don't think I think that Resident Evil 4 wouldn't have stayed in the collective gamer consciousness this much if it wasn't, to some degree, had that almost untouchable quality to it. Um, but it's going to take, and I'm glad that they seem, if they're thinking about it, they seem to be taking their time over it. They're not just, like, just thinking, okay, we got the engine, let's just go right ahead with it. They're probably going to end up changing some things about it. And I would love the opportunity to experience Resident Evil 4 in a new light, and see it, because the Switch version is not the best version of the game, like it, and neither is the HD version on PS4 or Xbox. Like, it's it you know it is showing its age a little bit, but also you look at it compared to some games that came the next generation, even after, like we mentioned Deadly Premonition earlier, and obviously it was a game made maybe with a different budget and certainly a different vibe and a different, but it's a third person action horror game
Well,
that
what's
looks like it came a generation before Resident Evil, even though it came years afterwards, and
right?
and it was influenced by it. And also, I think that people maybe don't appreciate enough, because we've had so many great, incredible third person action games and franchises since, that it was Resident Evil 4 that really brought it from, the kind of, um, you know, there were other games like, you know, Siphon Filter before that, but Resident Evil 4 is the reason we have Gears of War. It's the reason we
That's
got
what I was gonna say. Yep.
Uncharted and so many other, you know, The Last of Us. Like
We wouldn't have
all of
cover-based shooters, really. I mean, like, that's the thing, is like the over-the-shoulder, even without horror, its horror influences were drastic and amazing. But on top of that fact, they had impact on things like Gears of War and Deadly Premonition and Uncharted and Dead Space. Yeah, especially Dead Space.
yeah.
But I think that it echoes so well that Resident Evil 4 did, like you said, did stick with people, and I think that's why it continues to be one of the greatest games of all time, not just because of nostalgia, but because of its greatness. And with that, we are strapped for time. Thank you again, Joe, for coming on. I really appreciate it. Give us
Thank you so much for having me, man. It has been an absolute pleasure. I was looking forward to it. And
we're gonna have to have you on again. I know.
Yes, we'll definitely we'll jump on it again, and make sure you check out all the other episodes, guys. I was just watching is it Jordan Moreau?
Yep, Jordan's episode with Pokemon was really good.
Yeah, I was just watching that earlier today, so definitely check all those out. Subscribe to Shotgun McPain on YouTube.
Look at you, shamelessly plugging for me. I love it. I'm
a plug machine, man. Yep.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Follow this guy too. This guy, there we go. That guy, this guy too. Is mirror effect. But yeah, follow this guy. Twitch.tv/J Medforth. Of course, at Joe Medforth on Twitter, right? Okay.
Yeah, Twitter and Instagram.
And I'll have it all in the links in the description. Follow this guy. He's a great dude. Great doobie. Thank you once again for being on. We're gonna have to have you on the podcast again.
100%. I'll be happy to come back.
Many podcasts are brewing in my brain too, so maybe we'll have you on some of those too. You know.
Let's do it.
Anyways, follow this guy. How much do you? What's your stream schedule? I guess I should ask.
My stream schedule is as follows. I was thinking and practicing this earlier. Monday nights we do Mario Kart. Anyone is welcome to join in. We do tournament setup and it's great fun. Wednesday nights, Weird Wednesdays. We're doing Deadly Premonition then currently, and we're doing that on Spoopy Sundays as well. Friday nights is Fortnite, and then we have got Animal Crossing mornings on Saturdays and Sundays, followed by what is maybe my new favorite stream, Just Dance, Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, tune in for all kinds of Nintendo Switch craziness, and I'll look forward to seeing anyone who decides to jump into the chat.
Well, thank you, Joe, and thank you, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Take care.